Now, I just watched Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes in Gold Class, and the last time I was so excited for a movie that I booked Gold Class was also a fourth movie in the franchise, Matrix 4, and that was an utter disappointment. So the reclining armchair was very comfortable to sleep in, and I was a bit afraid that this Ape movie would also be disappointing. And I must say that it's not a terrible movie, right? I'm not mad at it. I'm just a little bit disappointed. Now, I have two main problems with the movie, and one is its role in continuing the story of the franchise, and two, as an individual movie itself, I think it's slightly problematic, but it's still worth a watch, right? If you are planning to catch it, definitely still go and watch this movie. I think it's still very entertaining, save for a few problems here and there. Now, Planet of the Apes, of course, is a very old franchise that started, I think, in 1968, right? The first movie was back then. And then it has been remade several times. And now this is the most modern generation of Planet of the Apes films, starting from Rise of the Planet of the Apes. And this is the fourth movie in the series. So I had certain expectations, which may be a little bit unfair. But by now, I would have hoped that we have moved the story a little bit further than what this fourth movie is trying to do, right? So in the first movie, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, right, we had the rise of the apes, right, starting from Caesar, the first ape that was super intelligent. And then in the second movie, right, most of humankind has been wiped out by the virus, which is great progress, right? We are moving towards Planet of the Apes by having most of the population gone. I think 90% were killed by the virus. And then in the third movie, there were still humans around, which is fine. But some of them are starting to become mute and dumb because of the virus mutating, and that's great. I think that's a very good trilogy that sets up this whole universe. And at this fourth movie, I don't expect to see more talking humans, and yet there are talking humans in this movie. And by now, this is the fourth movie, so I think still having this overlap between humans and apes coexisting on the planet is a little bit tiresome at this point, and I've hoped to see, apes take over the planet in greater fashion. Now, the planet kingdom of the Planet of the Apes suggests that there is a kingdom of apes, right? But yeah, it wasn't really well explored, right? We don't really know what the kingdom is like, apart from one or two scenes showing an overview of the guy's kingdom, right? This evil apes kingdom. But that's about it. There's not much exploration into the society of apes, and most of them are still pretty tribal. So it's still in the early days of this ape civilization, so to speak, even though they say it's many generations into the future after Caesar's death. So maybe it's just me being unfair about the movie's role in the entire franchise, because I'm expecting it to move towards Planet of the Apes, right? The 1968 film where the whole Earth is already dominated by apes way into the future, and then astronauts, crash land on planet Earth again and discover that their planet is now, a planet of apes. Yeah, so I was expecting the story to move further along this vein, but it seems really stuck in this whole overlap between intelligent humans and apes. And yeah, by now it is just getting very long in the tooth. Now, as a standalone movie to watch and be entertained, right? I thought the movie did okay at the start and at the end, but the middle was just very draggy and the pacing was a bit off, right? I think most shows should have maybe 3 acts, and I think I can count 4, 5, even 6 acts for this one, which made it a bit frustrating to sit through in the middle. Yeah, so I just felt like the pacing could be improved. I also feel that the characters were not really fleshed out very well, so I find it hard to care for most of them. Right, we have the new protagonist Noah, which is the main character now, right, taking over Caesar, which is a very difficult thing to do because when you watch the first three movies, right, Caesar is such a aspirational figure. He's so dominant and all, right, and we are so used to that performance. And then there's this entirely new ape that we are introduced in the first outing, and I thought that they did an okay job making me feel somewhat connected to him, right, and care for his storyline. But I find it a bit difficult to care about the other characters because they're just not that interesting, right? I guess the villain was quite interesting, but I don't feel like his side of the story was well elaborated. We barely even see his kingdom, despite this movie being called Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. So I would have hoped to have seen more of his, rule of the kingdom, more interaction with his subjects, etc. Rather than just, appearing in a few scenes here and there. I don't really feel like he appeared in the movie a lot. I think if you really calculated his screen time, it's probably less than 10% of the entire movie. It seems like, okay, the story will follow Noah in future, and which also makes me a bit worried about, you know, what I mentioned earlier about the story being stalled, right? Because they're just going to continue Noah's story in the next movie. And from what I can tell, they're still very tribal, they're still using very primitive tools. So they're still, you know, very primitive and very early in this whole Planet of the Apes theme that I was hoping for. Right, by now I would have hoped to have seen them in a more societal structure with hierarchies, with governments. But yeah, it's still just very primitive and slow lah. The progress of the story, I think, of the overall universe is very slow, and I don't see it progressing it much further if Noah continues to be the protagonist in the next movie. Now, a little bit more spoilers here as I describe the way that I hope the story would have gone, which is, you know, when the vault was mentioned, I thought that was like a little bit of a glimmer of hope that we will progress the story because apes will then finally find all this technology, these tanks, weapons, technology, and then move ahead with their, you know, primitive nature and really take over the world. But of course, you know, if you watch the movie, you know that the villain didn't win. He didn't lay his hands on these resources. And therefore, the movie is just set back again, right? We finally see some progress and then it's set back again because they destroyed the vault. And yeah, I guess the glimmer of hope right now is that I guess the glimmer of hope is that Noah actually brought his girlfriend to see the telescope. I guess that's a hint to show that hey, he's interested in technology and he could, right, conceivably find more interest in discovering more of such things which will then progress ape society to the way I want to see it to progress, right? I want to see modern ape society so that it can be truly be called Planet of the Apes. And I just hope it doesn't take another, how long has it been since the last movie? 7 years for the next one, right? Hopefully 2 years, 3 years max for the next ape movie because I'm really quite a fan of this franchise. Anyway, if you have watched the movie, let me know what you think of the movie in the comments below. And I've been thinking of recapping older movies, right? Not just Planet of the Apes. So let me know what movies you want to see me recap or review. All right, I guess I'm trying to go more movies in this channel. I've not decided. Right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video whenever that will be.